The next step that you need to do after you've successfully mastered one-step, two-step equations is knowing how to deal with the situation of parentheses. We use a property called the distribution property, and that's when there's a number outside of these parentheses. We're going to use multiplication to basically get rid of the parentheses. So that's the whole point of this lesson. How do you handle these equations when you see these parentheses getting in the way? Well, first off, I taught you basically with two-step equations, you take a look at the numbers that are interacting with that variable, and whatever is being added or subtracted to that variable, you get rid of it first. And how do you get rid of it? You do the exact opposite. So if we were adding, we would subtract it. And if we were multiplying, we would divide it, and so on and so forth. Well, now we're actually going to add on a new rule, and it's basically just designed to tell you what to do to get rid of these parentheses, and it's just one rule. So let's just kind of fix our rule guide over here. There we go. Whenever you see parentheses, get rid of them with the distribution property, and I'm about to show you what that is right now. So here's this positive 2 that's sitting on the outside of the parentheses, and literally we're going to multiply every term inside of the parentheses. So here's the very first term that's going to be multiplied. That would be the 3x. So 2 times 3x is 6x. What do? You literally just multiply the numbers, and any variables or exponents literally just slide in right beside your new product there. Then we're not done with that 2 yet. We're going to literally use that positive 2 and multiply the other terms in the parentheses. And there could be more than 2 terms, but this is what you'll generally see. There's just one little hiccup, and this is my personal style. Remember how I taught you to always look in front of the number? Well, look in front of this one. That's a minus sign. Let's make that let's just pretend that it was a negative sign. Let's say it's 2 times negative 2. Well, 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, which means literally we're just going to take that negative 4 and slide it right up next to the 6x. So I'll go ahead and write that a little bit neater now. So to recap, the distribution property is pretty simple. We take the outside number, multiply all the terms by it. 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And because our product is negative 4, we're just going to use that negative sign to sit right next to that. And now we haven't touched the equal sign. We haven't done anything to the 20. We just pull those down. And guess what? We're done with the first step. Now we can go through and say get rid of any numbers that are adding or subtracting to the variable. Well, this one's multiplying. This one's subtracting. So we get rid of the subtracting one first, just like what you're used to doing. Add 4 to both sides. This goes away, and we pull down our 6x because we haven't done anything with it. Pull down our equal sign, and 20 plus 4 is 24. 6 is multiplying the x, so we divide by 6 on both sides, and we get x equals 4. I want to know if you're right? Plug this x value of 4 into this spot right here, and you'd be able to work it out, and it does get you 20. So let's go through and let's do this one. Always look in front of the number for its sign. So this is a negative 3, this is a positive 2, and this is a negative 4. So let's use the distribution property. That'll help us get rid of the parentheses. Negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x. Negative 3 times, see that, negative 4? We'll make it positive 12. So since it's a positive 12, that means that we can put a plus sign right in front of it. If it was negative 12, we would just put a minus sign in front of it. And now we can pull down the equals 54. And hopefully at this point you can see, okay, we would just subtract 12 from both sides. Why do we get rid of that 12 before the negative 6? Well, the negative 6 is multiplying the x. See, it's sitting right next to it, so it's multiplying. But this 12 is added to the x. So we want to undo any addition or subtraction first. How do we do that? Do the opposite. So since we're adding 12, we'll minus 12 from both sides. Pull down our negative 6x. 54 minus 12 is 42. And now, since negative 6 is multiplying the x, we can divide both sides by negative 6. We find out that x is negative 7. The very last problem I wanted to work with shows you one other scenario that happens occasionally. And basically, it's what do you do when you've got a variable that has no coefficient in front of it. There's no number in front of it. Well, you can just put a 1 in front of there. I mean, if it was 10 parentheses 2x minus 4, well, that wouldn't be any problem. That'd be 20x, and this would be negative 40. That would be simple. But when we're looking at this situation right here, sometimes this just causes people to become uncertain. They're scared to make a mistake, and so rather than try, they shut down. You could look at it this way. 10 times x is 10x. Or, hey, there's no number, there's no coefficient in front of that variable. You could say 10 times 1x is 10x. 10 times 1 is 10, and just slide the x down. It doesn't really matter which way that you're looking at that. Okay. Now, the 10 also has to come on and multiply the 4. But that 4 has a minus sign in front of it, so we're going to treat it like it's a negative 4. 10 times negative 4 is negative 40. And that's how we get around that situation, and then everything else is pretty routine. Get rid of the minus 40 first. Divide both sides by 10. And we're left with x equals 19.